Hello guys, I hope you all can hear me. Srishti, are you in?
Yeah, I am there.
Perfect, great. Morning Srishti, thanks for joining the session and thank you guys for joining the session. I think we can start. Today's topic is how to crack a data science interview. And just to give a short brief about Srishti, she is an ex-alumni of Grey Atom. She's working as a data scientist in Dense to Edges network in the marketing and analytics domain. She also has varied domain experience in banking, insurance, and education as well. She's always excited about data science, the insights it carries, and she's a data science enthusiast basically. So I think we are good to start. Srishti, yeah, you can take over. Thank
Yeah,
you, guys.
I'll share my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, you can share your screen. Yeah. Guys, the session has to be interactive. So any questions, any doubt, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. All right.
I hope everybody is able to see my screen, right?
Yeah, it's on the screen now.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So basically, I'm Srishti. As Vijay introduced me, um, I have an experience in banking and insurance domain, and currently I'm on a journey for understanding marketing domain. I have just switched my job, and I'm working in Dentsu Agency. So today's topic is how to crack a data science interview. So in my past 1 year, I've taken around 25 interviews, data science interviews in my previous organizations. And I feel it's very important to understand at how to crack a data science interview because many times, we are ready with the concepts, we know everything, but something goes wrong in the data science interview, something goes wrong when you go for an interview. So it's important to understand what are the do's and don'ts when you go for an interview. The first question could be the first point could be the right projects to showcase to recruiters. I've been asked this question many times, even from the candidates who are interviewed, that please suggest what are the right projects to showcase to recruiters. Currently, it depends on many factors. The one factor is you'll have to understand for which domain you are interviewing. It's basically, let's say, for example, go through the JD first and understand what is the requirement. And I would say try to make projects which are of various domains so that the right project can be shown to the right interviewee. But as a basic project, your project should include one. Don't make those a common Kaggle project because now everybody knows that the solutions are available everywhere. So, like, we refrain a bit when we see Kaggle, a very common project saying prediction of whether the person should be given loan or whether he has cancer and some projects like this. What you can do, one good project I would say is consider your interest in any of the domains. Maybe it's banking, maybe it's insurance, or maybe it's travel, health industry, anything. And then you can there's a lot of data available online. You can scrape data from there, and then you can find your own insights, your own analytics, build models over it, and then make a very small interface, a very small app or a page to show your insights. So now this covers everything, that you know how to collect data, you know how to clean the data, and you also know how to represent your data, what is required from the data scientist. So I think you should make such projects. It would attract the interviewee more. So do you have such some questions on this part? Maybe I can take one or two questions and then we can move forward.
Where can we find such kind of data where we can try to practice?
Yeah. So I can give you a few examples which we have used. One, I have tried to scrape the data of flights. So there are multiple airport websites, let's say CSIA and IGIA. You can scrape data from flights and see what analytics you can do. One very good source is government.data.gov. The other is, if you see, a year back, I've also seen that Uber has made a lot of data open source. Then there are government sites which give you NatCat information. NatCat is basically natural catastrophic event. So there are sites which give you that. What would be the magnitude of earthquake on a daily basis? What would be the magnitude of earthquake? Maybe what is the rain falling in particular area? So you have plenty of data online. Maybe you can, just go on a random site, Flipkart, Amazon, scrape their pages. So there are a lot of data which is available online, and some things which you can think of, maybe in your domain, maybe let's say stock market data, maybe if cricket is going on, cricket data, maybe to COVID is going on, take COVID's data. So there are many things that you can go. Yeah. Did I answer your question, Ritesh?
So yeah, note down
Sure.
the points.
Yeah. So any other question from anyone?
So, Srishti, I think Bhavishya has written on chat. Can you drop these sites with the open source data points?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the sites have open source data only. I don't think any of these has paid data. Everything has, even tracking of train data is also interesting. There are a lot of websites that give you train timetables, and you can find something out of it. Yeah. So we'll move forward. What do you look for in a candidate's resume? What do I look for a candidate's resume is an interesting thing, because even as a candidate, I felt that I should write whatever I know in my resume. But the fact is, no, it's not that you should write whatever that it's there in a candidate's resume. Sorry, whatever that you know. Basically, try to understand where you are going for an interview. It's like, if I'm going for a product team that requires data scientists, then I may mold my resume in that way, and then I write what all tools that I know for that particular team. If I'm going for an analytics kind of role where reporting, business analytics, machine learning is required, then I'll write those skills. So, for example, for a team which requires data scientists for their reporting, I would like to mention my skills such as that I know database, that I know reporting, maybe projects which have analytics more. But for team, for let's say I'm going for a product team, I would focus on making a project which has end to end. So I try to write my skills which are end to end. So let's say, then I would say I would focus on EDA more, I would focus on modeling more, and so on. So first, it depends on what kind of company you are going for, and second thing, write only those things which you know very well. Let's say if you know NLP but you don't know in detail, don't write it. It's fine, because it's not expected that you know everything. But if you're writing decision tree, and if a question is asked for decision tree, you should be able to answer those questions, because else it would look like that you don't know what you have mentioned in your resume. So make sure whatever you write, you know that very well. Yeah. So maybe I'll move forward. Feel free to
Srishti,
yeah.
can
Yeah.
you? Yeah. So,
Yes.
if you have opened the chat window, Khushbu has asked a couple
Oh,
of
okay.
questions.
I think my chat window is not open. Give me
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So people are pinging on chat as well. So
Okay, okay, sorry.
yeah, you can just keep it open so that once the chat comes, you can address there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't use Zoom much. If you can guide me from where should I open my chat window?
Yeah, yeah.
So chat, right? Okay. So yeah. So Kushbi is asking if I need telecom field projects. See, when you talk about a field, it's very vast, saying telecom field, but there are many subfields into it. So you have to understand what are the subfields. Try to find data about it, because I am an electronics and telecommunication engineer. But as specifically, I don't know much about the different subfields of telecom from for which you can scrape data and you can find data. So maybe you'll have to dig more and see what kind of open source data is available for telecom, and see what would help. Maybe if let me think, telecom. No, I'm not able to recall right now. Next question is SQL required for data analyst role? I think SQL is is the skill that everyone should know. Either be very good at Excel, then you'll have a grasp of SQL easily, or I think you should know SQL irrespective of what is your role, maybe data engineer, data analyst, data scientist, business analyst. You should be knowing SQL. It's very important. Okay. So yeah, do we need basic fundamentals of big data? I would say not required as such. Depends. If you're going into a company which has big data predominantly, then yes, you need. But as fundamentals, I don't think you need big data because I feel that currently there are very few companies, which have big data or which use big data as their primary data management tool. Okay. Next would be
Yeah,
yeah, go on.
I have a small question.
Yeah.
Uh, In your for example, in your job, out of, let's say you did, solved 10 problems.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that 10, how many were sourced from structured data like Oracle or MySQL or MS SQL? And how many were from unstructured data or structured plus unstructured data?
Okay. So I would tell specifically about myself. Since about I was a part of new products and strategy team, so we never had data. What our first job was to scrape data. So we used to scrape data online, and then we used to store in DynamoDB, that's on AWS. So that's no SQL. And for some of our projects, which was of historical data of our company, it was in SQL. I know very few data nowadays is on SQL on an Excel, and then you take it and code do analysis on it. So it's mostly SQL or some database.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the hiring process in my current organization. So it has been only a month I have been in the new organization. I could tell you about my previous organization. The hiring process is in a way that first we have an interview that is about a technical interview where we understand what technicality the person knows and how he is good with whatever he writes in his resume. It is about an hour or something. And then if he's selected, we go for the assignment. We give 48 hours or let's say 24 hours depending on the assignment's complexity. Then assignment is assessed and based after that we have one more technical round which is taken by a senior person or maybe the management committee of the company, and then we have an HR round. These are the four rounds that we have. I would say I would also like to add, what you should, how should you prepare for these interview rounds. So for technical rounds, I would say that just know what is written in your resume. Just know what is done in your assignment. Sorry, your project. So if you understand your projects end to end, what you have done, each and everything, why you have done, it's good to go. And then if you have mentioned some particular algorithms in your resume, you should be knowing it from each and everything. Like if you are setting a if you set a particular hyperparameter in that algorithm, why do you set it, how do you set it, when you set decision trees, you should know what is entropy and everything. Not just knowing how to code, you should also know what is there in the algorithm. Yeah. So any questions? Maybe I move forward.
Yeah, one question from my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, out in generally, data scientists are reporting to whom? How are they fitted into the organizational structure?
Okay. So normally in most of the companies, data science teams always report to, have direct reporting to maybe CEO or the management committees because first you have to understand what is the current data science role in Indian industries. It's always a role or always a team which is forward looking, because I feel in majorly data science is not the core requirement in any of the companies currently. So it's always a forward-looking team which would look how what would happen 5 years down the line. So let's be prepared today, make models, make algorithms. So that's the reason normally they report to some management committee. So I was reporting to the chief sales officer of our company. So things happen like that. So I have other questions as my experience in finance and accounting for data science interview. Should I include the past experience or just prepare one with data science projects? Which Lakshya, it completely depends on what kind of company you are going into. So if you are going for a banking interview, I would say it would help, and it would go if you're going for an insurance company, it would help. But let's say if you're going into an advertising firm or you are going for an educational form, you can mention it. Definitely, you can mention it because every degree that you take, you learn from it, and it helps you in some way. So yeah, depends on the interview. Okay, then into a chief data scientist or CTO or CTO. Yeah, it depends. Like if you have a chief data scientist, then obviously yes, or else into a CDO, chief distribution officer. Or how should we tackle technical questions that we don't know answers to? Yeah, maybe I think there's a slide in this about this, and we'll come to it. Sure.
Yeah, one more question from my side.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much data generally is taken from ERP type of systems out of the problems which you generally solve, if you say as a percentage?
Yeah. So it's not like we take some percentage of data, but it completely depends on the problem statement. So let's say sometimes we'll have to take 5 years data, sometimes we have to take 6 months data. It depends on such problem statement, and then we see what kind of data is required. So there's no specific like you need this much kind of data. Initially, level one, we just take sample data to understand okay what is the requirement, what can be done. Once that POC or the prototype is developed, we then take 6 months data. There has been a scenario where we have taken 5 years data. So it depends.
No, my question was not that how much percentage for every module we should take from
Okay.
ERP. My
Okay.
question was out of so many problems which we solve, we take data
Mm-hmm.
from so many sources. In general, if we solve 10 problems, how much data comes
Okay.
from ERP as a contributor? Is it heavy contributor to the data science people, or it is, let's say, only 10, 20% or 30%, 40% approximately? Doesn't matter.
This is not standardized because I think every company has their own structure, the way they store the data. So it depends because likewise in our team, it was like 20% of the project we were doing on company's historical data, and so it came from ERP, and 80% of the data we scraped from internet. So that was the ratio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Srishti. Good morning.
Yeah.
One of my question is regarding the take-home assignment. Okay, can I ask now?
I think there's a slide about take-home
Okay,
assignment.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
what should someone focus on who is already an experienced developer and have experience handling cleaning data and ETL stuff as well? Yeah, maybe Indrajit, then you have a plus point if you know ETL and data cleaning. You can focus on it largely because personally I feel that machine learning is all about how clean your data is, how well you create your data. Because at least for me, 70% of my time goes in cleaning the data, making a structured data, because it's not that we have a clean data in one database and we scrape it. It would be like database A, database B, and then we combine. There are missing values, there are wrong values. So if you are good at you should definitely focus that you know these parts, because anybody would want that. At least this part should be very good when you are in data science. Okay. So, what type of questions are generally asked? How to tackle the tricky questions? Maybe I could combine that. How do you answer the technical answer the questions that you don't know? So, basically, what kind of questions we asked? We divide the interview into few parts. Is basically one is we ask technical questions to understand that they know the technicalities. The next part is we also try to understand how much they know, that how much data science is involved in a product, in a team, or in a company. Because you never make just data science, you never do just data science work. It's always a layer between your work. So let's say if I'm building a product, I would call it, since I'm from insurance, let's say I'm building a health insurance product. So the data science insights, data science, the analytics would be a part where I would leverage my product. It's not the complete product. So I will also assess that a person understands his role. the basics for fundamentals, as in how much would be the extent of data science would be used and what all they can use. So we understand their exposure towards the domain. We understand the technicalities, and sometimes even the cultural fit questions are also asked, because at times it becomes important. Maybe going forward, I take those questions to make you understand how cultural fit is equally important when we talk about data science interviews. And how to tackle tricky questions is basically, nobody requires you to answer all the questions. Number one, it's okay, you can say that you don't know. Basically, I feel that if somebody doesn't know, he should not be going around the bush saying XYZ but not answering the questions. But you should also think that when somebody is asking you a question in interview, it would actually something very silly but asked kept you in a different form. So try to think the concept that you have learned, and maybe try to think with an open mind. So maybe I can give you an example. It's, let's say, at times I've asked a question to candidates. Let's say this person A, who has his salary is 100 rupees, and person B, his salary is 1 crore rupees. So what would be the average salary of a person who is an average person of A and B? So now this is about a core concept that you have learned, that is averages. But if you say me that let's take mean of 101 crore, it would be around 50 lakhs and 50 rupees. But do you think the average person who is not neither rich nor neither poor would have a salary of 50 lakhs? No, because we consider 50 lakh salary as a person, as a rich person. A person who has 50 lakh salary would be a rich person. So then here comes your core concept, where you understand that when a data is sparse, when a data is very highly distributed, you don't take arithmetic means, then you take something else that's called as geometric mean. So were you able to think in that way? That was my major concern when I was asking you such questions. So first, try to understand what exactly the questions are, and then maybe at times if you don't know, you can say, okay, I don't know such questions, such answers. That's it. Anything that you would like to ask me in this particular slide? So maybe you can unmute and ask me anytime, so that I don't repeat that. If you want to ask any questions, we can move ahead.
In generally, for example, if you are giving in, as example, I am saying, you are giving analytical support or branding services in your existing company, for example. So in how many cases generally you observe that the client has their inbuilt team of analytics and you are trying to support them or doing that? And how many cases the client doesn't have any analyst teams? They just want completely outsourcing to you as a percentage.
Yeah. So, currently I have not been in a role much where it was services and client and vendor. So maybe I don't know the exact answer for this, because I was in Bharti Exar. It's a insurance-based company where we build our own product. So we don't have such format, where we interact with clients and understand their things. Maybe going forward, when
Yeah, anybody else can comment on this now. I mean, amongst all of us,
yeah,
because there are many
yeah.
people from different experiences. People can comment in case they want.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, you want me to repeat slide 7? Okay, slide 7 is this. Oh, is it saved? Things to prepare before 24 hours. Things to prepare 24 hours before the day of the interview. Okay, did I skip this? Sorry. So, what you can prepare 24 hours before the day of interview is. Sorry, missed the question. Which question? Can you repeat? So things to prepare before 24 hours before the day of interview. I would say go through your projects well, because at time it happens that you have made that project 6 months back, or let's say a month back, and then you start forgetting the small things that you would have done. Maybe let's say you have cleaned the data, but now you don't remember. So you can go through your project that you have made. You can go through the core concepts that you have understood, that you have learned. Try to understand the logics behind everything that you do more. That would help you. Yeah. Also, important thing is research about the company you are interviewing for. What they do, what does the team specifically do. If you require to change your resume accordingly, you can do that. So have a brief knowledge about the about the company, the team that you are going to be in. How many companies have in-house analytics and how many outsource it completely? Yeah, if somebody can answer this question, please go ahead, because it depends. It depends a lot, especially when it comes to clients and all. I think nowadays every company has its own analytics team, and nobody outsources it completely. That I would say they definitely take help. They definitely have an additional team, but nobody outsources completely. Yeah, right. So the next slide is I have covered this, and then how to approach take-home challenges. What if the challenge is not in your domain expertise? So how to approach take-home challenges is basically make a good presentation, even if it's not as make a good presentation, which covers the major points that you are trying to show in the project. And then so that you know it because you are just making the assignment, sometimes you don't get what exactly you tried, where exactly you failed. So you cannot show everything in your code. So what you can do is you can make a presentation that would say that, you know, I tried this, I tried this, I tried it, write it in a better way. And then even if your approaches fail, you should mention it, because then we get to know, okay, if you tried this, it failed, for whatever reason, that's okay, but he has tried it, she has tried this. And then make some kind of visualization if you can. Let's say if you have done ETA, even if you do it on Jupyter Notebook, try to show them the ETA, different type of ETA that you have done. And then try to apply multiple models and see its accuracy and so on. And also try to, since the assignments are for a shorter time, try to, you know, suggest what can be done in future. So now it becomes like you have tried something. This is the analysis, but since you did not have time, you may suggest something that if given time we can do these things. So okay, so do we have other questions? Okay, yeah.
So most of the data science interviews will have these take-home challenges, or is it that few of them will have it?
Yeah, so nowadays I think many of them have take-home challenges, because, you know, when we interview a person, we are not sure that, you know, whatever he's saying, is he capable of doing that? Is he capable of, you know, coding also? Because we have come across candidates who speak very well in the interview, but when it comes about coding, when we throw a question to them, they're not able to solve that. And it also gives us an idea about how that particular person would fit in the problem statement that we have. So we also give take home challenges based on our requirements, to understand, you know, it would never be the case that if you are in a company which is using machine learning, basically the classification regression problem more would give you an NLP problem. That becomes very rare, because it's okay if you don't know NLP in a company which requires other machine learning problems, and vice versa. So you normally get questions, take-home assignments, which are more of the particular domain within which you will be trying to do. So I think somebody had questions on take-home challenge earlier. So if you want to take it now, you can.
Hello, Srishti.
Yeah.
Actually, in current scenario, there are many startups. So okay, the many of us which are who are not in the field, means they are not in the data science field, are taking these take-home challenges from them also. Okay. When applying during the application, but currently which I had seen in the LinkedIn, that many of the these type of companies means they want to have some solution for the problem. They give the challenges to the candidate, and even if the problem is solved by the candidate, they are not means contact him again.
Okay.
So
So
how can we know
yeah.
that based on a problem, or because many of the companies are not well known, the startups, the good companies are all there, who have not done such thing. But if we want, so how can we know that this is a genuine company or this is a genuine problem based on the complexity of the problem?
Yeah, maybe I think even in previous webinar I was asked this question, and from your concerns, I feel this would be happening because of various reasons. Because to be personally, I have not faced such thing, but if many people are saying this would be happening. But to be honest, there wouldn't be any way around because if a company says that you have to do this assignment, and if they are doing foul play, maybe especially as you said for startups, we don't really understand what is the do they really want to hire or something. But what you can do, when it's a startup, it's very easy to what I would have done is it's very easy to communicate with the person who would be taking your interview or the CEO. So try to talk to them, try to understand the requirement beforehand, before the interview. So, or even within the interview, you can see what kind of questions they are asking, and maybe try to assess if they are not just interviewing because they want the solutions, or they are genuinely interviewing you. Because currently there's nothing which could which I could say if they are doing this, maybe this could happen. Because when we give assignments, we also give insurance assignments, but that's definitely not for our personalizing companies use. That is for assessing the candidate. So I cannot say you that if they give you a domain based assignment, it would be because they want to take some help from you and so on.
Okay, Srishi,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So the next slide is, after an interview, whom should I hire versus whom would I send back? I'll definitely hire a person who knows less but is very clear in whatever he knows, versus a person who knows everything, who knows, clustering, who knows recommendation. But even if I ask them small questions, as in why you are doing this, what you are doing this, and if they're not able to answer that, maybe I would refrain from hiring them. Because especially when we talk about Grey Atom or Great Lakes or any other data science institution, we are being taught everything. Because uh, we have to be taught everything, but that's not the case for the company which you are going to. They would be using one algorithm, two algorithms, or let's say five, six algorithms. They don't use everything in the universe. So maybe they don't expect you to know everything, but they expect you to know what you know very well. So yeah, I would give you an example that I have interviewed a data scientist who was 4 years experience, who knew I think almost all the concepts of data science, but he could not explain me when I went a step ahead. So let's say if I asked him what is standard deviation, he answered me what is standard deviation. But I asked him, what are the scenarios where you use standard deviation? Why standard deviation? Why not variance? And so on. And then he started getting anxious because he had worked a lot, I would say. He worked a lot for 4 years, but he was just doing things blindly. He did not know the concept. So those things are important, because we don't always use pandas, sklearn, and just directly find solutions or model our problem statements. We also at times we need to tweak the algorithm as and when required. Many times, not I would say not many times, but at times we never use the algorithms, but we also sometimes use the basic statistics and data science concepts. We use EDA a lot to understand to come to a particular solution. So you should know whatever you know very well. That is what I would say, and I would always hire a person who knows, even if he knows well, but he knows clearly what he knows. Yeah. And on what basis the resumes are shortlisted at the first stage, you will be getting a lot of resumes. So on what basis we select is basically we first see that the skill of the person is matching what we require. So if somebody has a higher experience in, it's very specific to the company I was in. So I was in Bharti Extra General Insurance. So we didn't take NLP problems, NLP problem. So we refrained from hiring people from with an NLP background because we thought that it would not be fair for the candidate also who has an experience in NLP. We should not waste his experience. Similarly, if somebody has done a lot of work in deep learning, we did not take the resumes. So what I'm trying to tell you is it depends what is the domain expertise of that particular company. If a company is in NLP, he would shortlist the candidates who are good in NLP. If somebody is doing something in deep learning, you'll have to they'll be more attracted towards deep learning candidates. And in general, machine learning, I would think I would shortlist a person who knows database or some kind of way where you interact with taking the data and storing it and then using it. So maybe if he has to know SQL, either he has to know some ETL tool or some even, or at least he should be very good in Excel. So that's one thing. Then when data collection has been completed, that person should have worked or at least have one project in data cleaning, ETL and not ETL, sorry, EDA and such things. So I would also like to see that he knows basic data analysis, how to make graphs. He should know has he worked on such things, and then yeah, a few algorithms here and there. We don't focus much on algorithms currently because we think that would be learned. But if you are not good at your basics, then it becomes difficulty to make you learn basics on the job. So yeah, that are the things that we see in the resume. And any questions that you would like to take?
Yeah, one question from my side. How many of the analytics questions which are handled by us belongs to the forward-looking category of sales? There, I mean, let's say sales, then execution, and then after sales. If we treat these three as a major challenge of the business, how many questions of analytics are generally handled by sales as a percentage?
Okay, sales.
From your
So,
experience, it doesn't have to be very.
yeah. So basically, one thing is one a company has a very overall data science team which looks into everything, and the other part in the format in which I work is sales had one analytics, and then different teams had different product team, not product. I would say in insurance, if you know that there's underwriting and there are various subdomains actually, so they had different analytical teams. Since I was a part of sales, our projects revolved around sales. So that happened. But yeah, I would say that if that would be the case, majorly it depends. Majorly, a company's weak points are taken. Let's say, if in insurance, I would say the major bottleneck is around handling the claims. So we try to, make models towards claims. And since I was a part of sales team, so we used to make models or we used to improve sales. So it depends that way. Yeah. How to usually end an interview? Is it helping anyway to get shortlisted? How to usually end? Yeah, maybe you can make them understand that saying that I know these things you've interviewed, but maybe I'm also trying to learn things, and I may learn. I'm okay to learn things, and if you put on some random things on me, I would do well. And you can make them understand what are your future goals and what do you think that where you would go. So it helps them to align you with them. So let's say if you're not doing something today, but if you're planning to do it tomorrow, you can maybe tell them, that my future goals are this, and then sometimes we look towards it because when we hire a person, it's not that we are hiring just based on the technical skills. We also hire them based on the company fit they are. So let's say I would tell you that if I've interviewed many people, sometimes I feel that they know, but they're not able to express it. But that's important because data scientist is, I would not say it's just a technical role. You also have to take meetings, you also have to present your solutions. You should know a kind of storytelling. So it's very important that you know how to express yourself. So at times we also reject people if they really don't know what to express, how to speak properly. No, speak properly in terms of, let's say, if I ask you a particular topic, you'll have to make me understand very easily what you mean. Because sometimes just because they don't know, or I think there's some issue in the clarity they have, they are not able to put the points straightforward. So that becomes a bottleneck. In technical round, do for formulas as well, say for Gini index, no. We understand that it's not important to know the formula, but we could definitely like you to know that when you say Gini and index, what exactly Gini index means. It's okay if you don't know the formula, but if you know the pseudo formula, or I would say if you just know how do you, uh, what are the parameters, how do you calculate Gini index, so that would be enough. We never ask formulas such as what is the formula for standard deviation, variation, or for a particular hyperparameter in a model. We understand that there are many things and we don't go to the specifics. What is median salary for 5-year experienced data science candidate? Okay, that is tricky because to be honest, I would say it's not that if let's say I give you a figure 15 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs and I say median salary of a data science candidate would be 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs. No, that's not the case, because what I've seen is it's always what is your salary and what is the hike, what is the relative hike that you would get. Because there are very few companies which say that okay, we have a budget of 15 lakhs. Let's say you have, I'm just giving you random numbers. Let's say if you have a 7 lakh salary, even if the budget of the company is 15 lakhs, there are very rare chances that you get a 100% hike or something. So it completely depends on your trajectory. But yes, if you're a good negotiator, you can ask for a higher pay. Yes. Mm. So any questions? Slide 11. Okay. A recent experience, good, bad, an interview attempted. I would like to quote few experiences, maybe because that's not one specific. One, as I said, that once I interviewed somebody who was very good at data analytics and data science, but he was unable to understand how to implement data science in a larger way. So I'll give you exactly what I'll tell you exactly what happened. Is basically my question to him was, let's say if tomorrow I want to make a insurance product for smokers. Okay. So how do you go forward for it? How do you select the data? Just based on your layman even if you don't know insurance, that's fine. Based on your layman understanding on how insurance works, what are the kind of data points that you would like to use? So, in his mind, for 15 minutes, I would say since he was a data scientist, and I would say he had a good experience in data science. I think he had worked only on cluster classification. So he was stuck at the problem statement, whether the person should buy the insurance or whether the person should not buy the insurance, whether I should give him that insurance, whether I should not give him the insurance. So he was only stuck to that domain because that was his domain. But at times, you'll get projects, you'll get job roles which are out of your comfort zone. So you should have a very objective view to things. So even he tried for 15 minutes and then he said, "Sorry, ma'am, I cannot, think beyond those parts." So for what I was expecting when I asked him that question was what kind of data I need. So maybe when it's a smoker's insurance, I would want you to answer. You would take few parameters which tells me about his smoking habits, maybe how many times he smokes, does he have any pre health conditions or some post health conditions due to smoking, where he lives, what kind of job he does. So these are the normal things that we expect, that if a random thing is thrown to you, how well you are able to respond. It's okay if you say me 2 points out of 10 or 5 points out of 10, because I understand if the domain is new for you, it would be difficult. But if you're not able to, go out of your bubble, then that becomes a bottleneck. The other interview question, other interview which I faced was okay. At times, freshers ask me that when we ask them questions, okay, do you know this? Can you code this particular thing? Can you make a function of maximum number of three numbers? So then we get a reward that okay, can I Google it, or these questions would be available on Stack Overflow. So yes, we don't encourage such behavior because we feel that okay, Google is there. Even I search code through Stack Overflow, but being completely dependent on that would be difficult. So yeah, then we have a question: having 6 years experience in core domain, non-IT, what are the chances to get interview calls? If something can be done for improving your resume? So if you have a 6 years experience in core domain, I think you should be applying for data science jobs in that particular domain, because having a domain experience that too for 6 years would increase your chances a lot if you know data analytics. Because at times, so I've been said by a few people that the areas where data scientists fail is where one, if people refrain from coding or from core programming, then it becomes difficult. And second, if they don't understand business domain, that also becomes difficult at times. So yes, if you have domain knowledge, it helps a lot. Maybe I would say if you're in insurance and if you know insurance and you know data science as well, and if there are other people who know data science the same way you know, but since you know insurance, you would be preferred more, because at the end it all boils up to how much you improve your business. So, having a domain experience is a plus point. But that doesn't mean that if you don't have domain experience, you should not go. Just be open to learning new things and then research a bit before going for an interview. So let's say, because I'll give you my example. When I joined insurance, I did not know anything, and I was very straightforward to the interview. That see, I know insurance as a layman, but I don't know few concepts. But so they were okay with it. It's all about how you put yourself, and if you're ready to learn new things, the interviewer is okay for that. And yeah. Any more questions that you want to take, or if you want me to answer? Oh,
Hello.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, what are the prospects of being a freelancer in data science without joining any company? Is it a
See,
scope?
I would say after COVID, that would have increased because now people are moving towards this, I feel. And for freelancing, I've not worked much as a freelancer because I don't get time to work otherwise, except my job. So I don't.
Okay.
For a non-CS background, on what specific areas we should prepare for data science interview? For a non-CS background, I think you are referring for somebody who is non-technical. Is that so? Okay. So maybe I assume that you are referring to non-technical things. Maybe you should.
Hello, Srishti.
Yeah.
Hi, Deep
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Non-technical means I have a technical background means I am an engineer, but I don't code because I'm from electrical engineering background, and thereafter I came into sales. Okay, so I have never coded before. I've just started coding. So any specific areas I prepare for the data science interview?
Yeah, then I feel you should prepare for that. You should know basic coding. I'm not saying that you should know complete coding, but if you're learning Python, you should know basic Python, which you would have learned at Grey Atom. You should be able to do your work properly. As in, if you're asked to do EDA, you should be able to do that. So when it comes to specific areas that you should prepare for the interview, it because this you would be asked questions as in, if you're an electrical engineer, why you want to move to a data science field, then you have your own answers. That let's say you say, I like data, I like doing EDA, so then maybe I like making models, I like coding, I have an inclination towards coding. So as per your answers, you should be able to justify whatever you are saying. If you
Okay.
say you are interested in EDA, then the next questions would be what kind of graphs you have used. What are the different types of graphs that are there? What is the difference between a bar chart, a histogram, and so on? If you say that you like the coding part much, then you would be asked that how open you are to learn new programming languages. If you say you like modeling, then whether you can model full-fledged in Python and so on. So that's all.
Okay. Okay.
What is the probability of getting getting interview call for freshers who don't have any coding background in non-IT students? So if you have good projects, I think it depends on a resume and the project. Because we have also hired one person in our team. We had a team of 4 people, and we have hired one person. She has done her BCom, and then she went into data science. So we were okay until and unless she has she wants to learn coding. And because it's at then it's really important that if even if not today, but in future you will have to learn coding for data science. I feel even if you are from a non-IT background, if you are from an IT background, you will need to not the very production level coding, but at least you should know how to insert your own module, your own algorithm module, your own anything that you code to the code that is already there for a particular product or for particular thing. So that basic programming is definitely required. And also at times we encourage that whatever insights we don't use Tableau or we don't use any BI tool, and then we code ourselves and then show, because it gives a freedom for us to tweak few things. So that kind of coding is required, where you can showcase your own work. Yeah. So what are the various topics that we need to prepare for interview for data science? I have 9 years experience as a database developer. So, Dipanvita, since you have an experience in database, it would be a very good plus point for you. What are the topics you should prepare? Is first you should prepare about statistics. I would say descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, and then whatever the algorithm that you mentioned in your resume, you should prepare those particular topics. I would say. And also try to read some case studies and use cases on online. How to answer questions, how to answer data science questions. As in, let's say tomorrow you have to build a product which sells food. So, how would you utilize your data science skills in that, or what would be the data science layer that would be used? You can get such questions online, and you can learn how to answer such questions when thrown randomly at you. Is SQL included in this data science transition program? Maybe Vijay, you would be able to answer this question. Because currently I am not that much aware of the data science transition program that is being offered. I was a part of the atom, but for a few months I have not been. Yeah.
So it's which question that you asked about, Srishti?
Yeah. So it's like is SQL covered in the data science transition program?
So, guys, if you'll be attending the code alongs on Saturdays, there will be different data sets, different topics in which this will be covered. So, shouldn't be a problem. Okay.
Yeah. So having 10 plus years IT and architecture experience, what do you suggest as data scientist manager is feasible role to look for? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sorry, go on. Somebody was speaking. Okay, fine. I'll take it here. So, if you are a 10 plus year experienced person, I would say that definitely you should go for a managerial kind of job and not as an individual contributor, because then an individual contributor would not justify your experience. So I would suggest you that you should look for such team roles. Yes, and then when we talk about team roles, it's the skill sets that we look for a team role differs from the skill sets of an individual contributor. because now we expect you to know things. We expect you to know various things about data science, but we don't expect you to know each and everything, because at then you should be. So let's say I'll give you an example that if we also hired a data science manager, so we were expecting him to know that how does an SQL query goes, how much time does an SQL query take, because we don't want that somebody coming and saying, this particular task would take 2 days or one day or 5 hours, when it's just a 5 minutes task. So you should be able to assess what is the task, how it has to be done. You should be able to mentor the team, and we look for such skills for a manager. Okay, the next is how many years of experience considered good for switching to data science? Right now, I have 1.2 years experience as Jira administrator. No, I would say earlier the better, because if you are into some other domain and then you switch to data science, so still you for data science you become a fresher. Even if you have done some project, if you have done some real life projects, then it's still counted, but then you are still considered as a fresher in data science, so earlier the better. Yeah, that would be my
Srishti, I would just like to launch a short poll on the screen.
yeah.
I would like learners to take this. So just give me a few seconds, okay?
No worries. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm launching the poll on the screen now. Yeah. Guys, please take the poll. It's just like a few questions, couple of questions. Thank you guys. Thanks for taking the poll. It would be great if everyone takes it. So I think we are around 48, 49 of us. So this poll is pretty important to know your thoughts. And I'll also be sharing a feedback form as well for the session, in which you need to give your feedback. Is everyone done? Great, great. Thanks, guys. I'm ending the poll now. Srishi, you can continue.
Yeah, so we had one more question, that when you have gap of 3+ years, and what steps a candidate should take to start getting calls? The companies reject resume, there is gap in work experience. So what's the solution for this? What steps you can take is, you can build your own project, some solid projects, I would say, and then I would say spread it across various social medias. I feel LinkedIn is a good platform to showcase your work. You can keep on consistently updating on LinkedIn small things. So maybe giving few hints of your projects, and then showing that, okay, this is the project that I have done. And yes, I've seen people commenting and giving jobs to people who are nowadays consistent with their work, consistent on Medium, consistent on LinkedIn, or for that matter, Kaggle. Keep on updating your GitHub profiles, and I would say that. So basically, to crack a gap of 3+ years experience, you should have a good, decent project with you. They even reject resumes if candidates don't have industrial experience sometimes. It completely depends on the person who is interviewing you, because at times there are jobs which actually require industrial experience. In a way, I would say that, let's say a new data science team is being formed, and if you are one of the initial one, or first or second data scientist there, then I think they would look for some industrial or domain experience, because even they are new to the field, and they would want somebody who already knows a bit of it. But if that's not the case, rarely you are being rejected on your industrial experience, because I would say that I was in Axis Bank. It was a banking domain. I was in insurance. Bharti Exam is an insurance domain, and currently I'm with Dentsu Aegis Network. That's a marketing domain, and for me it's very new. To be honest, I have zero information about how does marketing industry works. So yeah, it depends. So
Hi, Srishti.
yeah, go on.
Hi, Srishti. Deepandita here.
Yeah,
So I wanted to ask that since data science is quite a vast field, so like for the interviews or to prepare for the first job in data science, how much depth of knowledge is actually required? Like often it feels it's overwhelming, like studying so much and then it is enjoyable. I agree, but still, like to crack the first interview or something, like what would be the depth that is required?
Yeah, so to crack your first interview, I would say if you this would be my answer would be specifically for freshers who want to take their first job in data science. Be very clear with your statistics. You should know the core concept very well because as a fresher, we understand and we don't even expect you to know all the algorithms. So maybe take two algorithms from regression, take two algorithms from classification, and take two algorithms for clustering. Just take any of the six, or I would say any of the four algorithms that you have learned and that you are interested in. Learn them very, not learn them. Learning is the wrong way. I would say understand them very clearly. What is being happening? Try to if you have time, try to code those algorithms on your own so that you will get to know. When you are saying that yes, when you are saying that you are using linear regression, when you assign weights in linear regression, how that is actually happening, how the differentiation is happening behind the code. So just take four at max six algorithms, understand it thoroughly, understand the logic behind it thoroughly, understand statistics thoroughly, and I would say you're good to go because the technical part you should be knowing a bit of SQL. Even if you're not well versed with it, it's fine. You learn over the job. If you are just a fresher for Python, it's fine. You learn Python over the job, but the concepts that you have learned, you should be well versed with the concepts that you are using. So, Deepalita, did I answer your question properly? As in, yeah. So,
Yes, that was helpful. That was helpful. Thank you.
besides knowledge, how much the business analytics work integrated online degree would help to shortlist for interview? Yeah, it does help you when you have an additional certification or when you have an additional degree because then we know that you have been gone through a formal process of learning and you have learned the required things. But yes, I would also say that you would not be just shortlisted basis on your degree. So we also have encountered people who have taken analytics degree from and certification courses from IIT, various IITs because they also offer. But if they don't know, even then we don't consider their certification because it's always an add-on to your understanding. Yeah. What is the difference between the role of data analyst and data scientist? Yeah. I would say a good question, especially because many times people are confused about the difference between a data analyst and data scientist. Is a data scientist who is a person who has to look end to end over the data science involved in the particular product or service. So it's a data scientist is not a person who will just make models, who will just create predictions and so on. He has to see how the data is flowing. It sometimes it depends on the team, on the company structure also because if you have different data engineer, big companies have data engineering teams and data science teams and data analysis teams. But majorly, since data science is an evolving phase, many of the companies have one team which looks at collecting the data. Obviously, the data is stored by the company by a different team, collecting the right amount of data, and then storytelling is an important part of data scientist, which is not a part of data analyst. I feel where when you get a business problem, you have to make them understand that how data science would be useful for them because at times especially in data science, we have to take the work rather than work coming to us because since it's a new field for Indian companies majorly, I would say, then they're not sure whether data science team would be able to, do some really good work. So then we have to tell them about the story that how we would progress, how data science would be helpful. So I'll give you an example. It's basically Um, so in insurance, in the claims team, at times the bottleneck is the claim assessors are very new. So maybe new in the sense they are just at times they have just done the bachelor's in arts, or they are sometimes just graduate and they don't know anything about it. So how can data science solve such problem? Because data science is not just making models, just making reports, but also helping the business to improve their efficiency. That is also part of data science. So we took a project where we said, what we will do is we will collect data of the past assessors who have assessed various. This is specifically for, I'm giving an example to understand that how you can convert a solution into a data science solution. Is basically we had a problem statement where we were facing issues with the new assessors who were coming to the company. By assessor, I mean a person who assesses the claim, whether this claim should be paid or should not be paid. So let's say it's my first day at the job and I've been asked to go to a BMW car showroom and assess the particular BMW car whether it's eligible for the claim or not. Let's say I'm from a place which does not have much exposure. So if I now go to a very big city's big BMW showroom, I would be just into the environment so much that I may miss some things, and I would say, okay, since it's a BMW car, maybe a 30,000, 40,000 claim would be okay for a BMW car. But at times that would not be the case. So how do I help freshers or new assessors through data science to understand whether the decision that they are making in any particular field is correct or not? So what we were trying to do is we made an app in which had historical data, and now when assessor goes to a particular showroom, he would fill showroom details, he would fill car details, and then based on our historical data, we would say, for this particular car, the common claims are this. So as a fresher, you follow these steps, you see if these are the things, okay, then you can have a checklist and then you can say, so this is where data is helping them to understand their problem statement. And then you take a call, and if let's say sometimes the particular claim here is different, then we had also attached the experienced person's information in that thread. So now you can call this person, he's experienced in his particular job, and now you can take his help to assess that claim. So these are also things where data science could help you, where we had applied clustering into it and we had applied some intelligence in that app to understand how it works. So the on-time field data science is also important. Okay. So what will be the day like for a data scientist in an office? Is it more on EDA or meetings or convincing superiors on the problem statement solutions? Yeah, so it's a mix of it. So maybe first half you'll be attending of a meeting where you try to take problem statements from various teams, try to make them understand the scope of solution that you could be giving in, because the major bottleneck in every company. So see, when you start with a data science solution, you have everything in your mind. Okay, हम ये कर देंगे, ये हो जाएगा. But then you get restricted by the capabilities that particular company has. You get restricted by the tools you have. So then you have to chalk out, these are the possible things. But out of this possible thing, the feasible things are only this much. So many of the time goes on meeting with businesses to tell them the problem statement, make them understand. Sometimes the problem statement is completely different from what they are quoting. So the time goes in understanding what exactly the problem is and where they are facing that problem. Then time goes in ED. I would say my 70 when I am working, for the time I am working, my 70% of the time goes in cleaning the data and making a structured data. Because especially for us, since we were researching and we used to scrape data, there were multiple sources from where we used to scrape data and then combine the data. So much of the time went into that, and then yes, EDA, and I think a very less time goes in modeling. Yes, so that's the day you. So I would say that there's never a day in data scientist life. It's always a project in their life. So the different parts of the project is, first you have meetings, you understand the problem statements, and then you clean the data, do EDA, and then modeling. And then I think, and even we from a data science team, we think that a part of your time should also go in evaluating the model that you have made. So because at times, what we do is we make the model, we make the product or thing live, and then we stop following up. But that feedback loop is also important, because when you say, let's say, when you're predicting whether a person purchased an insurance or not, if you also have the real answer, it would be good for you to implement that feedback loop into your model and improve your model. And then, how long does a project with a proper problem statement go? Is it 1 to 2 weeks or 1 to 2 months? Normally, a project is goes for 1 to 2 months, but there are also some short projects where you just have to analyze the data and see whether there are future opportunities in the data. So such projects take a week or something, where we are only thrown with data and we have been asked that, okay, so this is the data that we have. This data is not being used. Can you use the data and find some problem statements? So such kind of problem statements also come where we just have data and we have to suggest what can be done. So such things take a week or something, and then we have a longer project, it takes a month or something. Which part of data science is code heavy, EDA or modeling? So I would say code heavy is so if you are putting your modeling on a production environment, it would be code heavy, because then you have to optimize your models. So I would quote an example. What happened with me is, we use AWS, Amazon Web Services, and when we were trying to put our code on Lambda, which is a serverless function service of AWS, then I figured out that for some reason, maybe for AWS is different in different regions. So maybe, let's say, for my region or for particular version that I was using, the Lambda does not support pandas or NumPy. So what I had to do is I had to convert all my pandas code into Python. So by that I mean, let's say, if I want to read a CSV in pandas, I write pd dot read underscore CSV and then the path. But now that particular function is not understanding read CSV function. So not now what I have to do is, we just went to the core concept and saw that how does pandas read CSV. So we took data from wherever it can be stored, let's say S3 bucket or a local server, local machine, and then you see how a CSV, what does read CSV do. So for us, what we did is we took the data as .csv file, and then we saw that every column as its comma separated value is separated by a comma, and then an enter line is next line. So we had made a code, our own code, to understand that how to read CSV. And so at times these things make your data science code heavy, where you have to start from scratch. And for specifically EDA or modeling, I would say modeling is more code heavy than EDA, because for EDA you can make, you can make your own functions, and which are so generic that you can put so generalized that you can put your data, any data you put it, and then you get an EDA. That can also be done. So keep such functions handy. So when you want to use, you just import those functions and then do EDA. Yeah. That's how we work, is we make a supporter file and we keep some functions handy, and then we use as and when required. We don't have to code it every time. And any other questions?
Guys, we've got like a good 15 minutes more. So any more questions, we Srishti can address those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feel free to ask questions. And if there are no questions, I think then we can, just wrap up the session. So let us know.
So for any other doubts, even in future, maybe you can contact me on LinkedIn. I would be happy to answer your questions. It's Srishti Savla, yeah, SRISHTI and SAWLA. So you can search on LinkedIn. I think you'll find only just one Srishti Savla, so that would not be an issue for you. So, yes.
So I guess, guys, there are no more questions, right? Srishti, I think we are good to wrap up. Thanks for the wonderful session. And
Yeah, thank you so
thank you
much.
guys for participating. and you asked some very good questions. It was because of you the session, became more interesting and interactive. So thanks for asking questions, and thanks Rishti for solving their doubts. I think we are good
Yeah.
to wrap up.
I will take the last question that is
Yeah.
there. Will it be useful to show a real world project built on own without industry interaction? So, Rohit, can you be specific when you say without industry interaction, and then what do you mean by that? Yeah. I means just for our practice. Uh, yeah. I definitely support that. Consider a domain that you like, and then go into the domain, take some project of that domain and start working without industry interaction. But then it's not that without industry interaction. Then let's say you take food domain, you figure out a project in food industry, try to contact people of that industry, and you can always ask them, how do you work, what are the things that you see. What we'll do is, this will encourage you to work into data science more, because one, you are using the domain of your choice, and then you start feeling that you are solving some real life problem statements. Because at times I see that people on LinkedIn post that they have done a cancer project, or they have done the to start with iris project, and but for me that doesn't actually connect me with data science, because I think that this has already been done, and how would it help me? So if you choose your own domain and make real world industry projects and build on your own, one, you'll be interested into it, and second, you'll actually enjoy what data science is, I feel. So yeah, you can go for it, and then for help, ask industry experts who are into their particular field, and they'll definitely help you. This one question: is it good to keep LinkedIn profile open for public or close this edition? Yeah, keep it open for public. I think let people see your work. If you are like, don't keep your phone numbers if you want it to be public. Keep your don't keep your personal information. I mean, keep your GitHub profiles public. Keep your projects public. Keep on posting things on the platform, small things that you have learned. Keep on writing Medium articles and then post it on LinkedIn or some other websites. So be interactive, be in the, I would say, environment, so that you get noticed someday or the other. Yeah, that's it. And thank you, Rohit. That was a good question also.
Thank you guys. Are there any more questions? We've got like good 10-15 minutes more, so we can utilize them.
I want to just figure out, let me understand, is there anybody from the DBA background, database administrator background from our team of 52 people? Just a question. Since we have little time, I just want to explore quickly. From an database administrator background, is there anybody?
Yeah, maybe I would post my LinkedIn ID.
Yeah, there is one person. Good. I just wanted to understand, because a lot of data are stored into these databases, whether it is on ERP or whether it is CRM or whether any other things. And if we focus as a data scientist only on this area, there will be tremendous structured data available on which lots of analytics can be done. Because 70-80% time if we spend on cleaning the data, it means it is a huge overhead. And this can be a quick low-hanging fruits, probably, we can capture. I will be very happy to interact with these people from time to time, and let us come out with some bright ideas. Open for all of you. Thank you.
So what I would suggest is Madhukar, you can communicate with the guys who have this interest and who can answer this on Slack. That would be the best platform. So you can take your conversation on Slack as well.
I am also Oracle certified DBA, by the way.
Okay.
I'm a chartered accountant with Oracle certified DBA background. It's a weird combination, we can say generally. But we see a lot of potential areas where, especially in the team of strategy and business planning, there are lots of people who are decision makers. And if at this level we come out with some bright ideas and share amongst each other and do some experimentation during the course, probably that will be a very, very good idea. If we
I agree.
because
What I
when we practice,
yeah.
it is too good. It is excellent.
Yes. So I think you can definitely communicate with the folks, who are in the same domain on Slack, and you all can definitely plan something. That should be good. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So,
61 last question has come, I guess. Can you please?
yeah. There are two questions that I would like to answer. I'll first take the shorter question. Srishti, can you please confirm cleaning data means removing outliers, then cleaning spelling mistakes, right? Um, Arun, cleaning data is has much more than removing outliers or cleaning or doing spelling mistakes. So I would give you an example. Is basically we had data where we had diseases. We had data for a person's health status where we had diseases they had, their age we had, their name we had, and we had gender. So one you said, obviously removing the outliers is a part of it. Spelling mistakes is also a part of it, and in improving the spelling mistakes helps when the variable is categorical variable. If it's a normal text field which has description or something, then I don't think we work more on spelling mistakes because it then becomes a general text. But more than these two things, other things are also important, like imputing missing values. So let's say we did not have gender at many places. So what we had to do is we first had to see what specific to the problem example that I gave you. We had to first see what kind of diseases that females have. Let's say the disease or if the claim is of pregnancy, we are sure that it's a female. So we imputed based on the diseases. When that was done and then we still had missing values, we imputed based on names. But then when I say you have to impute on based on names, that your algorithm of imputation has to be very specific and you have to code it yourself, because if I write something known as there are names which have both which are common for both males and females, so that could be mixed up. So even when you solve a particular problem, you have to keep many questions in mind. And data cleaning is also about missing value imputation, removing the outliers, and also at times it's about creating or extracting a particular information from a particular field. Let's say I have a column which says how many answers a particular let's say it's a exam analysis data set, and then you have to see um, how many answers a particular person has answered. So if your text field says 12 answers out of 50, 12 answered out of 50, 12 answers, answered few out of some, it could be some random value. So then you have to extract the correct 12 out of that particular column, because the correct value is 12 that a particular person answered 12 questions. So how do you face such, how do you solve such data cleaning issues? That's also a part of data cleaning. So then is okay. Can't seem to find your LinkedIn. Could you please share your ID? I've just shared my LinkedIn ID above. You can see. And there was a question from Dipti ma'am. Can you share your experience of the transition into data science? What are the hurdles you face, if any? So my experience with data science, sorry, my transition with data science has been interesting. So by luck, I would say I joined TCS as a campus placement. By luck, I got into an analytics project. By then, I had no idea what is analytics. I really feel good when freshers nowadays take data science in courses because they are that much aware. And that's a good thing. For me, I had no much idea about what happens in analytics and what are the job roles. Then, but working in TCS, I started gaining interest, and then I started browsing about data science on the internet, how it can be done, and what are the things, what are the sub streams, and so on. But till then, I would say that I was not so sure. I was just I used to attend one two seminars here and there and to see what is data science all about. But then I had to take some break in between because I got fractured or something. So for a month or 2 months, I had nothing to do, and so I thought that this is the right time to understand data science. So by then I came up with Grey Atom's advertisement, and then I joined Grey Atom. And trust me, the journey of Grey Atom was really very good. I had started developing more interest with data science, and then I actually studied deeply into it, and then I got my first job into data science. At that time, when I was in the Grey Atom, I was a part of ICICI Lombard into health analytics. But then post Grey Atom, got job into Bharti Axa as a data scientist. And trust me, the job I was doing in Lombard and I was doing in Bharti Exam was completely different and more interesting, I feel. And yeah, since then I'm not. Don't stop learning at any point of time. Even if you get a job, keep on learning because data science is an evolving stream. You'll have to keep on learning every day. Even today, sometimes we go back, and see, okay, what are the different types of mean? Why do I need hypothesis testing? Why, what specifically, what magic standard deviation can do in various forms? So we also touch these small topics again and again. Also, we touch topics like modeling, clustering, and recommendation algorithms and so on. So that's my journey. And what hurdles I faced is I would say that initially I was not much into coding. Like I could code. I was coding in SAS, which required few lines of coding, but I did not like much coding. But gradually I've learned coding, and now yes, at least I can code. I would say averagely, yeah. I would not say well, but what kind of projects did you have in your portfolio when you got your first data science job? What kind of projects I had? Even then, I would say I was not matured in terms of what kind of projects I should have. But we had some few good projects as hackathons or as our capstone project in Grey Atom. So that time I had just the projects that I had from Grey Atom. But I would say my domain helped me because I was into insurance and then I got a job into insurance. So it was a mix of domain and project. Yeah, that's it. So I think last 5 minutes, if somebody wants to ask more questions, we can take it.
Yes, guys.
Your projects are from Grey Atom or any other sources. So currently I'm working on various projects, and after my first job in data science, I have been working on various projects that are individual projects. But when I got my first job, the project I had to showcase was just from Grey Atom's capstone hackathon. Any open source platform to practice problems. Kaggle is a very good platform to practice problems. But if you want to practice specific problems, let's say SQL or Python, then HackerRank, HackerEarth are good platforms where you practice problems. But in terms of data science, Kaggle is a good. What is the average salary offered to a fresher? Um, I don't know. Vijay, can you answer this question? Maybe you are you would be more aware of this question.
No, I mean, like every company differs.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I don't have a fixed figure.
So it's a very tricky question, I think. So
Yeah.
definitely hovers between minimum to maximum, and it's a range we can't, define. So that's the thing.
Correct. Yeah. Any open source platform to practice that has been done, okay. HackerRank and HackerEarth, both. You can go to both. You'll find different problem statements and different things in both. You can see. Yeah.
Any more questions, guys? I think the crowd has been fantastic today asking questions. So yeah, it's been a very good session. I think if we are done, because anyways we have only 2 minutes, so we can just wrap up, or one or two questions. I think we still have time. And guys, don't forget to fill the feedback form. I guess I've shared it like 2 to 3 times, and I can see some of them have filled, but not everyone. So please see that you fill the feedback form, because it's very important for us to know your thoughts. You know, how do you feel about the session, and what can be the changes that we can make. So these things are very important. So please don't miss out on filling the feedback form. Yeah. Anything else, guys?
Uh, Even if people don't have questions, I would lastly I would like to give a tip to everyone that even if you are studying concepts, at times data science would be theoretical, but please start coding whatever you learn. The moment you start coding, only then you'll be able to understand. Even if you learn differentiation, try to code how to differentiate. You can code differentiation functions. You can code that if you give one particular value and one particular function, what would be the answer of differentiate when we differentiate that particular function or that particular value. So you can code each and everything that you are being taught in data science and start learning that way. If you learn someday, gradient descent, go home or start coding gradient descent and so on. So I would say code each and everything. Stop writing in your notebooks, start making Jupyter notebooks. Any source where I can get to know how statistic concepts are really applied to data science. What you can do, there's no specific source, but what you can do is go to Kaggle, see EDA projects there, and then you will be able to see or see data cleaning projects there. You will be able to see how and where statistics is being applied. You'll be able to see what different algorithms people are using, even in missing value imputation, how they use mean, median, mode, where they use these particular things. So just look at things which are hands-on. Only then you'll be able to understand. Reading things would keep you in the vicious loop where you are just reading and you think that you are good in understanding concepts, but when it comes to coding, then you will feel that you don't know from where to start. So I would say code and code. What tools you use for scraping for large data sets? This is the last question. What tools are used for scraping a large data set? For one thing, you don't scrape a data set. It's basically you scrape a web page or a content, and then you store it in data set. But when you ask me what tools are used to take data from data set, is basically what we do is we connect Python with those data sets. We connect Python with those data sets and then take data sets. But if you will directly, use large data sets on Python, your normal computer, which has RAM of 8 GB or something, would crash. So what you can do is there is called as what is DASK, DASK. What does DASK do is DASK breaks your large data sets into smaller data sets using parallel computing, and then you can use it very well. So I do personally do that. Last doubt: what is the difference between Python for ML and Python for data science? So data science is the larger umbrella which covers data analytics, data cleaning, machine learning, NLP, deep learning, and everything. And machine learning is subset of it, which includes the algorithm classification, regression algorithms, and so on. DASK, DASK, yeah. R or Python, which is mostly used in industry. I would say Python is used everywhere because there's a lot of open source information available on Python. But I would say that for companies, sometimes Python becomes a security threat for them. So then they switch to R. But I would still say that go for learning Python. It's more vast and its applications are more vast, because when you say R is specifically for data science and machine learning and analytics. But when you say Python, you can do backend, you can do front end, you can combine your backend, front end, and your models and use R as your backend stack. So I would say go for Python. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Srishti, for the wonderful session. Thank you, guys, for
Thank you
questions
everyone.
and
Yeah.
for attending. So yeah, I think we are good to wrap up now. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy your Raksha Bandhan tomorrow, and stay
Yeah.
safe, stay home. Thank you guys. Please fill the feedback form. Thanks, Srishti. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Right, thank you.